Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Now that we've had the dust settle and seemingly no horses, I don't think, right, are going to run again, as far as that would have implications towards the horse of the year, has it cleared up the picture at all for you?
I don't think there's any doubt Cody's Wish will be the horse of the year. Like, I don't even think it's a debate. I think the story and you know, the Cody passing away, not Cody's Wish, but the Cody Dorman, the human, I just feel like it's a lock. Now, you know, if that story isn't attached to it, maybe there's a lot more debate, but I think Cody's Wish will win horse of the year. I don't know how many people vote in it, but I bet he gets like 80% of the first place votes. I don't see, it's a year where you can debate so many different things. These are human beings that are voting on the award. I think Cody's Wish is like a lock for horse of the year. I don't think it'll be close.
I mean, I think I would have still, I think I still put him number one, but I mean, I think I still would have done it had, even with Cody, you know, with Cody, his namesake, passing away. But I think that's going to be like the key part to that, and deservedly so, I think, because it's been such an amazing story. And you want to talk about horse of the year, right? Like the year and what that journey has meant. Starting back to the last Breeders' Cup is really kind of like, you know what I mean? We knew about it, but it really took flight then. Gosh, I mean, what a 12 months it's been for I mean, if you all the people we know that aren't in racing, other than, you know, the terrible aspects of racing over the last 12 months, if you've talked to somebody out of those people, it's always about Cody's Wish.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is just such a big story. And, you know, he backs it up. I know it's not like the greatest Breeders' Cup win ever, but he didn't do anything to make you think, well, he lost it. You know, like if he loses to National Treasure, then obviously not. And, you know, the other side of it is, yeah, he did lose to White Abarrio without any doubt, but he also beat White Abarrio during the season too. So, you know, end of the day, I just feel like he did enough on the track to earn it. And then, you know, with the situation off the track, and again, it's not a year where we have a Triple Crown winner or something like that, where it's like, no, you just can't give it to him. We didn't have that. It's like White Abarrio was great for 2 races, but it was just 2 races before August. He wasn't really that good. And, you know, up to the mark, had a great season, but he didn't win at the Breeders' Cup. And he's a turf horse. And so, you know, Lee Power, great season. He's a sprinter. So it was very kind of sitting there being debated about. And then after all this happened, it's like, yeah, it's just Cody's Wish. It's his year. I don't really think there's any reason to get upset about it one way or the other. You know, it was his year. It worked out and he deserves the award.
Here's the thing, and you kind of mentioned it, and I don't think it gets talked about enough, is like, because everyone likes to go to, and I mean, I understand, right? But everyone likes to go to, well, when they faced each other, you know, White Abarrio killed him. And you're like, well, do you remember the race before that? You know, and I get it, like the Whitney is a classic type race, but the Met Mile, I would argue, is more a prestigious race than the Whitney. And he killed him. Like, I mean, White Abarrio ran well, but Cody's Wish was incredible that race. And so maybe however you want to look at it, you still got to look at it like, hey, he did beat him too, right? It's not as clear as like, well, when they faced each other in the Whitney, he got killed. White Abarrio undoubtedly had the best second half of the year, right?
Oh,
There's no way you can argue that. I mean, he was unbelievable, but for an overall picture, I still have to give the nod. I'm with you. I think it's Cody's Wish. Honestly, if I was voting, my finalists would be Cody's Wish, White Abarrio. And the third one gets tricky, but even though he lost, I thought Up to the Mark ran such a good race in the Breeders' Cup and would be deserving. I mean, he got second to a world-class, literally a world-class type horse who got the dream trip. I think he's deservingly of the finalists. He had a huge year.
Up to the Mark's the best United States horse in the country, period. There's no debate. I'll say that right now. He's not going to win horse of the year. He's the best horse that we have. He's the only horse that all season long took on not only the best horses in this country and waxed them, but the best horses overseas and beat all but one. And he probably lost to one of the top 4 horses in the world at the Breeders' Cup, but he was a very close second, right? He beat a Breeders' Cup winner at a distance that really isn't even his best last time out at Keeneland. And then if Master Seas goes on to win at the Breeders' Cup, he beat one of the best European horses that had ran in the United States so far in June back at the Belmont on Belmont Day. Up to the Mark's the best horse we have. I really believe that, but he's a turf horse. For whatever reason, he wasn't even really getting that much credit before, the big race here. I mean, he beat the number 3 ranked horse in the world easily, and Mustadaf, right? And then with August Rodin, he just wasn't quite good enough to go get him, but he was right there with him. I mean, again, he's not going to win it, and I'm not saying I'd even vote for him, but to me, it's like, hey, who's the best horse in the United States right now? Up to the Mark would be my answer.
Isn't it funny that we talked a lot about this on our, leading up? It's like, this is a horse that we're told, can't even walk. And not only did he prove us wrong and beat a Breeders' Cup winner. Okay. Yep. He beat a Breeders' Cup winner in Master of the Seas, the race prior, off the layoff. And then he damn near won the turf against a elite Aidan O'Brien horse. And this horse was, may not even make a race in the last 2 races. So that just goes to show you what that means sometimes, because the way he ran those races after kind of that in her head was just totally different, night and day.
I mean, it was incredible. And he's, like I said, he is the one that every single time it just felt like, man, he is facing the big time horses. Like, you think about Elite Power, he just kind of stood out over the division. If you want to go like the classic route and you think about White Abarrio, great 2 races, but the competition, it was as good as it could possibly be, but his division was just kind of weak. And really the turf division was too, but the difference was the Europeans kept coming over here in races he was in, and he just kept beating them. And he beat most of them in the turf, except for for one. So he got second. So
yeah,
he had an incredible year. Elite Power also had an incredible year as well. And, I definitely think for 2 races, White Abarrio was that horse, but it's hard to, 2 races just, I don't think are going to be enough to get him the horse of the year. He really needed one more, I think. And I think he would still be the horse of the year.
He needed one more. He needed, like I've seen some comments about kind of what he should have won or what he didn't win. If he got 8th in the Pegasus, right? That's a good example. Like if he wins the Pegasus and then goes on and does that the rest of the year, what he did. Yeah. Or say he wins the Met Mile. Obviously, if he wins the Met Mile, he's got that locked up. I would argue, by the way, that the Met Mile, I said it carries more weight, but from a stallion making race I think the Met Mile is way more important than winning the Whitney.
I think the Met Mile and the Whitney, you could argue one way or the other. I think they mean about the same. The Classic means much more than both of them.
Correct.
And he did get that one. But yeah, the Met Mile, the Whitney, it's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. It depends on who you ask. It depends on what's important. They're both prestigious races that have been run for 100 years. Don't quote me on that. I have no idea if they've both been run for 100 years, but they've both been run for a long time. They're both really, really important.
Sounds like they're going to run them. The White Abarrio, that is. They're going to run them back. Maybe the Pegasus or the Saudi.
Yeah, no Pegasus. They're going to the Saudi. No Pegasus.
The Saudi, that obviously it goes in line with the gaps, right, that he continues to have, and he runs well. He ran incredible. We'll get to that race here in a second, but there was really, no point of that race where you felt like he was going to lose, and he, that's saying something for a race like the Classic. So, I mean, I don't want to shit on him. He deserves Horse of the Year most years, but this year I just don't think, I don't think he's going to get it.
No, I don't, and I think he deserves it, but I don't think he's going to. I mean, there's no think he's not going to get it, but does he deserve it? I mean, he won the biggest race in this country. He did it pretty easily. I can't sit here and say he doesn't deserve it, but I think the reality is he's not going to get it. And they talked to Dutrow about this actually after the Breeders' Cup, and he said, "Look, if the award was for best horse of the second half of the year, we would be the winner." He said, "But we got him for 3 races." He said, "We got all next year to win."
Would go for Cody's wish.
Right. Yeah.
I hope we would win, but
yeah, he basically said we're not, so it is what it is. But I thought it was interesting. He said, we've got next year. Next year is his year to win horse of the year. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Which, say what you want about him. That's awesome, right? That you have a trainer that wins a race like that, and he's saying, no, I'm going to keep running them and hopefully can, lock up horse of the year and earn it, right? And earn horse of the year. Because that's just the other thing too, is like, even as good as Cody's Wish is, and all three of these contenders, if we're talking about up to the mark, or if you want to throw in Elite Power, if you want to throw in Idiomatic, whatever it is, like it's been a solid group, but it's not like it's not been one of those years where it's just insane, right? Where it's just, so it's like, yeah, that's great, but you go and win, Saudi, you go and win the Whitney, and you go and win, all these big races next year. If you're White Abarrio, then yeah, boom,
and
lock it up.
Who exactly is going to beat him? That's the other everything can change, but there's nobody out there that should beat White Abarrio if they could keep him to where he's at right now. But that's just it. You just don't know.
Right.
Horses fade in and out, right? I remember when Life Was Good, beat Nick's Go. I'm like, man, I don't think he's going to lose this year, and he did. So a couple times. So you just never know.
It's not like White Abarrio has been elite all his life, So
no,
you never know when maybe the reality sets back in with this kind of horse.
No, yeah, you never know. But right now they've got him in just great form, and he ran 2 huge races in a row. There's like I said, we'll talk about him though when we do the race.
I'll tell you what though. Just from I'm not like a huge horse flesh guy. I can tell you when one looks good or whatever, but he looks like a different horse than he used to look. And I get that he's older, right? But he just looks like a different horse than the first of the year. He looks like he weighs like 200 more pounds.
I was standing on the rail when they were going towards the gate. I looked at Magic, said they're not beating that horse. He looks unfreaking believable. Like he did. He looked so good. And Magic said he's been doing he's been showing himself all week how good he's looked leading up to this. I said I hadn't seen him for a long time. Well, since the Whitney. And I said that was one of those days where I just wasn't paying any attention after they had a breakdown, and I didn't really care. But I hadn't seen him since then for a long time. And he looks like a different horse. They've done great work with him, and I was very confident. Let's put it that way.